switched to Sprint, and that's probably the worst mistake I've made in years to leave Verizon.
Yeah.
Why'd you leave Verizon?
Because here's the case.
Too expensive?
I used my phone a lot prior to this past year because I was in business. I was in investing in financial services. And so I was on the phone with clients all the time. And I now just do that on the side. That's not my primary role anymore. And I'm like, I don't use my phone that much. So yeah, I figured I'll save $1. They say it's 1% difference and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah. And it was a substantial savings. And I'm like, it's worth it because I don't use my phone. Well, I switched and my phone indoors is worthless.
Yeah.
Anywhere indoors. And it's questionable various places outdoors. And the data is questionable because of that too. I still don't use my phone much, but it's the data that's questioned. I'm just like, what a freaking waste. And
1%, though, how is that 1% such a big deal?
I don't know. It's 1% of like 1x coverage or something. It's like they've got equal coverage to Verizon in 1x, but then at 3G it's like 40% coverage, and LTE it's like 2% coverage.
You know what? Blame the spokesperson for Verizon who jumped ship to Sprint.
Yeah,
he's the real reason,
Well, he made a money decision, and unfortunately so did I, and I'm paying for it. Hopefully he is too, that son of a gun.
I heard that Sprint is good in certain cities. So like it's good in New York City. I actually had a friend who lived in Cincinnati who said it was really good in Cincinnati, and that's where you're at, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in downtown Cincinnati. It might be good there on Race Street or something like that, but I live in the suburbs, and I work where I work is a little bit even outside. Yeah, gotcha. And it's just I'm frustrated. And I actually posted something on Twitter. I'm like, I'm pissed. I just posted that, and of course, Twitter or Sprint got back to me, and they're like, "Oh, how can we fix it?" And da 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 da. And they tried to do some things, and I'm just like, you're not gonna like magically add something to my phone that I just got and just updated, at the store 2 weeks ago. You're not gonna do something that's gonna fix it. Yeah, so I'm frustrated, but whatever. I'll deal with it, and then in 2 years when I'm done paying off our new phones, we'll probably switch back. Yeah.
2 years. That's awesome.
I know. It's like you're living your life knowing you're screwed for 2 years. It's like, it's like going to jail for 2 years.
Jeez.
And you're just like, well, I got, in 24 months, man. Maybe I'll get early release and they'll let me out of my
breach of contract.
I don't know. All right. We got Maz. Maz is on. What's up, brother?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Maz.
God, you're Mike. Ooh, you don't sound good.
You say I'm what?
Oh, you're all
Really?
Yeah.
Hang on a minute.
You got to do something. Maybe
Feels Mike looks like something from like Star Wars.
I know.
Yeah, it is, dude.
Oh, hey guys. Anyway, I'm happy to meet both of you. And I was reading all your stuff on your website stuff, and wow, some great stuff. And I'm anxious to talk about where we're going with all this. Especially, and we'll talk more about this, but being on camera, trying to relay information and make sure people are listening to it and what they do with the information. I think it's really fascinating. So anyway, very cool to meet you guys.
Hey, for everybody that's tuning in live on YouTube to this cluster of a recording that we always have every show, thanks for tuning in. We love you anyways. We hope you stick around. The fun part of watching the recording is you never know what you're going to see. You never know what you're going to hear. That's always the fun part of this. The bad part is you never know what you're going to see and you never know what you're going to hear. So, but we appreciate you guys joining in. We're going to get started here shortly. We're waiting on MJ, and Brady said he was having some internet issues. And Mass, how are we doing on your mic? Let's test your mic.
How does that sound? Any better?
Oh God, no. Do a reboot, man. Reboot. Reboot.
Maz, what the heck happened from last or 2 weeks ago?
I don't know. Brady just sent me a text. I may be able to go to like Panera or something.
What? Oh my
What?
gosh.
He's having
That would
trouble
be
with
fun.
his internet. And now he's saying he might be able to go to like Panera or something.
That would be great.
I'll said,
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, who's saying hi? Somebody.
Oh, Mark Swag.
How's
Oh,
that?
hey,
Is that
Mark.
better?
I'm back. Hi.
Oh,
And
that
Mark. And the other Mark's back, too.
Yes.
yeah,
yes.
sorry, you sound better.
You're good, Maz.
Is it okay? Thanks. Hey, you're good too. You know that.
I know. Thank you. No, I don't know.
I'm telling Brady we're gonna pass on his background Panera noise.
What the heck is he doing?
And we will get started without him with who we got. Okay, so a couple things. One quick item, and this kind of goes more for the freak co-hosts. One of the things I want to do is our introduction of each other with what are you drinking. I want to try and tighten that up a little bit because it's a little long. And I want to make sure that we're getting to the content of our show and not jibber jabbering too much about what we're drinking. So kind of keep
so
it.
I don't have to edit so much.
Yes. Because otherwise I give it to MJ to say, cut these 3 seconds and cut those 5 seconds. And so just be a little more succinct with what you are drinking tonight. That's all.
Okay.
So we can
We
get
can do
through
that.
that and get to our esteemed co-hosts of Weather Hype. Mute your phones. Don't forget to do that. Mute your mic if you have to. So guys, I don't know how often you get on Hangouts. Do you guys record on Hangouts together?
No.
How do you guys connect?
We do a weird kind of recording situation.
Okay, that's enough.
I'm intrigued.
He's got the whip out tonight. Man.
So anyway,
Not that weird.
So I was telling you guys, if you need to go to the top of your screen is where you mute your mic. So if there's noise in the background, you just move your mouse and you can mute your mic if you have to or have to cough or any of that fun stuff. Keep your mic close to you. They always say like 4 fingers to your mouth, and if you get knocked off, just reconnect on the link that you have. So
Learned
all right,
much
we'll start
already.
off. I'll do the introduction as usual. Talk a little bit about National Weather Podcast Month, and then we'll introduce what are you drinking happy hour. Min and Castle, you guys got something to drink?
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay, so
Awesome.
I'll include you on that. That will not be your formal introduction, but I will at least have you tell us what you're drinking. Then I will turn over to Kim. Kim will give you guys your introduction, and then she'll start off the questions. Once we get to bottom of the hour or close to there, we'll jump to the lightning round, which we've already announced, which is rare. That's why I said cat's out of the bag. We're playing newlywed game tonight. So we haven't played this since Tornado Trackers. And there were 3 of them. So that was an interesting newlywed triangle that we had going on then. But we're playing newlywed game. This is going to be fun. You guys had some good answers. So I've already sent them questions and they've already answered. So this will be good. And then after lightning round, I do a quick Zoom radar plug, and then we'll take our first break. Okay?
Great.
Sounds good.
Rock
Everybody
and roll.
good to go? All right. Again, listener or viewers, thanks for joining us. Get ready for some fun. Get your drink. Let's roll.
They've got them. They're already telling me what they're
Sweet.
drinking. So
Oh, really?
yes, they are. Yes.
All right, count me in.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Hey, welcome to the most entertaining weather podcast on your listening and viewing device. This is the Stormfront Freaks podcast, and today it's brought to you by Danner Boots. The Classic is available today. Every boot is handmade to hold up in unforgiving conditions and live up to our unyielding standards. The future is strong with Danner Boots and their Stronghold work boot. Check it out. If you are a first-time listener, thanks for checking us out. Be sure to go to stormfrontfreaks.com and check out the previous library of all the other shows that we've had and the famous guests from the weather industry. Tonight, we're recording episode 49. This is finishing National Weather Podcast Month for us. And we're talking with the co-hosts of Weather Hype Podcast, Minh Phan and Castle Williams are here tonight.
All right.
So Welcome,
All right.
gentlemen.
Hey,
Uh,
hey.
Well,
We will also be discussing the future use of images and video in severe weather communication. And stick around, as we're not short of weather fools this week, and we usually have some WX resources. Although I know there have been times that we've come up short on that, but hopefully tonight won't be the night.
So what are you saying? Just
Hey,
saying.
it was a group effort. That's all I'm saying.
oh,
It
man.
is. I mentioned earlier, it is National Weather Podcast Month. We now have a web page. So if you go to weatherpodcastmonth.com, we also have social media accounts. Just go ahead, Twitter, Facebook. I think there's even Instagram. Just search Weather Podcast Month and you can find those. Be sure to bookmark the website for the special schedule of shows that are still going on for the rest of March, and all the other information from the 9 participating podcasts, including us. There have also been some great crossover shows recently, and hopefully we're going to be adding another one of those tonight as well. But as always, best way to introduce our team of co-hosts is by celebrating the fact that it's always happy hour when we record. So we're going to find out what everybody's drinking tonight. We ask that you join us, so feel free to join us as long as you're not driving or at work. So we will start up in Minnesota. Our Skywarn coordinator, MJ, what are you drinking?
Hey, tonight I have a tall Captain and Coke.
All right.
Captain and Coke. He's
There you
keeping
go.
the captain
Tall.
captain life. Very good. I am drinking. I'm loving my vodka and blue curacao. Normally I have it with my famed Mountain Dew or Diet Mountain Dew. Tonight it's just with a splash of Sprite. But
That's
it's
enough.
A blue drink. Yeah, that's good. You don't need any more Sprite. Maz, our former TV meteorologist in Cincinnati. What are you drinking, Maz?
Yeah, well, it's not so happy hour because I realized I left it upstairs. So I have the cap.
Oh, God. Just mute yourself and go up and get it, man. We'll forgive
Fine
I
then.
think,
Okay.
I think you're better off without that beer anyway. All right.
you. True. All right, Kim, as our former Weather Channel meteorologist in Atlanta, what are you drinking tonight, Kim?
I'm drinking an IPA, and this is the Lagunitas. This is just a regular IPA out of California. It's very tasty, and I have my new Metallica pint glass that I'm drinking it out of. So,
Very nice.
Did you go to a concert and get that, or what?
yeah, I have been to a couple Metallica concerts.
Oh, I'm sure you have, but did you go to one
Yes,
recently?
I
to
did
get
not get that. No, I did
All
not
right.
get there.
All right.
Okay.
Very good. And then I always ask our co-hosts that we don't have a green room because we do this all online, but if we had a green room, we'd have it stocked. And so I always tell our co-hosts, bring something to drink. I don't care what it is. So, Min, I'll start with you. What are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking a People's Porter. It's from Foothills Brewing in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm a big porter stout kind of guy, dark beer.
Ooh.
So
Like my husband. Okay.
Okay.
yeah, so just
I'm not
enjoying
a
this
fan of the
tonight.
dark, but good for you. Good for you. All right, Castle.
Good stuff.
Can you meet that? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking the wonderful Snapple.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
You can
Right.
find them at
Nice.
any grocery store. No.
What does the cap say on the Snapple?
It
40
says most elephants weigh less than the tongue of a blue whale.
There you go. Since
Oh my
1992.
God, are
telling
you
wow,
kidding me?
strange facts.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, on
Okay.
that note, that actually is good, Castle. I'm impressed. You brought more respect back with your cap.
I thought
Hey,
he'd be drinking a Newcastle. But I guess-
let's get to our guest, Kim. Go ahead and introduce
okay.
our guys.
I would love to. All right. So we have Minh Phan and Castle Williams, and they are the owners of the Weather Hype podcast. And it's a podcast started by these guys. They're besties. They love weather, and it's connections to people every single day. Now, Minh has received his master's degree in geography from East Carolina University, and that was in 2017. Also has a Bachelor of Science in Geography with a certificate in atmospheric science from UGA, University of Georgia. And Minh's master thesis focuses on mobile weather applications on smartphone devices and understanding how people interpret, perceive, and utilize this information on a daily basis. Minh has worked with many different organizations, including National Weather Service, to develop infographics and visuals for the enhancement of National Weather Service digital media communication. He also has worked with the Federal Emergency Management Agency and with the National Park Service and Emergency Management and Climate Change Communications. And we have Castle Williams, currently a second year working on.
And we lost Kim. So
Well,
And here's Castle.
that's right.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Min gets two paragraphs of intro. And
Castle gets nothing. Sorry, Castle. It's all about me.
good. It's all good.
here's what we'll do.
we can wait till she comes back and
Yeah.
have her start his
Yeah.
castles again.
Yep, I'm with you on that. So
Did you forget to plug the meter, or what happened there?
Wow, that was quick.
That was
abrupt.
yep, that was sharp.
We're all at time now.
She hit the wrong button accidentally.
By the way, Phil, I'll take this opportunity to say your video isn't the greatest tonight. I don't know why.
Serious?
It's-
Oh, yeah.
That also.
It's Sprint.
Yeah, it
That
is.
could be.
Yeah. All right, interesting. Let me see.
The sound is okay generally,
Yeah.
but the video is not so great.
Yeah, you don't want to see Phil in HD.
Here she comes. She's
You
getting
didn't
back
hear
there.
that.
Dude, Bach.
Oh no! Did you guys miss the whole thing?
The whole thing.
No.
Start over.
You started
Yeah,
at Castle,
no.
and then you just stopped.
What are you drinking?
Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh! What the heck happened? That's terrible. Did you see me talking?
No, we
Right after you finished.
we got you through Min, but then you said Castle, and then you pretty much disappeared. So we thought you were dissing them.
Words cannot describe Castle.
I know.
Really?
Oh, so I need to do it again real quick.
You need to do Castle. So
All
start
right,
with
let's-
Castle.
Okay, all right. So let me go back here. All right. So currently, Castle is a second-year PhD student in the Department of Geography at the University of Georgia. He holds both a Bachelor of Science and Master's degree in Geography with an emphasis and certificate in the atmospheric sciences, as well as a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology from UGA as well. His overall research interests include examining how we communicate weather terminology and hazards to the public, as well as weather-related decision-making and the societal impacts of weather. So both you guys, my hat off to you guys on all the schooling. But, my question was, when I read all this, was, well, what came first? Was it the friendship between you guys, or the love of this, or did it all kind of come together one day?
I guess if I'm speaking for you two, Castle, I think it was weird when we were both at UGA together doing undergrad. We didn't really talk to each other very much until senior year. We all have both our own stories as to how we got involved into meteorology. My story is with Hurricane Floyd that was threatening in 1999. I was living in Savannah, so we evacuated, and that's what got me into weather. And I've always loved news, journalism, and reporting. So I went to UGA with the idea of going into TV, and then that kind of changed along the lines of doing research with our advisors and doing research together, Castle and I, to kind of opening up that world of, we can do research into meteorology, but also do stuff focused on social science. We had this one research project where we were looking at Facebook and how Facebook helped to track the trajectory of debris from the 2011 super outbreak of tornadoes. And that's what really got me into the social science aspect of, it's not just about the, data assimilation, the atmosphere, the dynamics of all that. That's all important, but there's so much other ways that you can contribute to our community in research. And that's what really spurred our interest in this type of field.
And Castle, anything to add to that?
No, I would agree. I think the first time we really started getting a lot closer was with the project that we did with Dr. Grunstein about, he's a professor, Dr. Andrew Grunstein, on extreme temperatures and how that affects athletes. So I think that was the big major area of kind of focus where that kind of pushed us together. And then we realized that we have a lot of the same interests, and then we kind of clicked as friends. And so ever since then, we've been doing a lot of stuff together, and it's been fantastic.
So what prompted you guys to do the podcast?
I think, at the time, podcasts for me, I'd always heard about them, but the podcast that really got me into podcasting in general was probably Serial from NPR. And so listening to that and the way they told the story really captivated me. And around the time of AMS in 2016 in New Orleans, I was talking to a lot of people, and there seemed to be an interest for having a weather podcast. I know Weather Brains was out, and I think Weather Junkies had started recently, right before that year of AMS. Castle and I kind of talked and said, we can totally fill a gap in that area of podcasting, but also do our own little thing with weather and social science, but also do it in a really casual way where we're kind of having a conversation with each other, but also sharing great knowledge and information to listeners who may be willing to listen to us talk about random things sometimes too.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it was a lot about access and how a lot of people don't have access to these scholarly journals or all this information that we're kind of putting out into the weather world. And so I think for me, I wanted to, like Min said, tell a story, but to be able to reach other people and to be able to kind of convey and show people why social science is so important, but in a way that they can understand. Plus, we started it after we had graduated, and so we wanted to be able to stay connected, and so we would have these like 4-hour phone conversations anyway. So we said that it seemed like we were already doing a podcast without recording it, so we might as well record it and have other people listen.
So I'm sorry, go ahead, Phil.
Well, I was just going to say, so maybe tell us if I'm a new listener and I were to tune into Weather Hype, what can I expect to hear?
So I think for Castle and I, the idea of social science, right? People like say that all the time within the weather world, like social scientists, social science people, disciplines, but people know what that entails. And so, with backgrounds in communication, psychology, geography, we can really pinpoint down what that actually means. And then we try to bring things that are relevant to people on a day-to-day basis, as Kim was saying in the intro. So episode that we released last week for National Weather Podcast Month is talking about the idea of weather modification, right? So changing the weather, that's probably an idea that people think, or maybe even a misconception people have, that meteorologists can alter and change the weather. And to some degree, we can by doing cloud seeding. Well, the discussion, the cloud seeding then leads to the idea of chemtrails, and then that leads to other crazy conspiracy theories. So these are topics that people talk about every single day, whether you're a weather enthusiast or you're just, some random person who wants to, talk about that stuff. So when you tune into Weather Hype, we're taking these stories and we're talking about things that hopefully can apply to everybody. Granted, there are times when we talk about things that are more weather community centric, but we try to talk about things like, in Phoenix this summer, it was so hot, planes couldn't take off. Let's go into a little bit of the science as to why that's happening. These are things that are affecting people every day. People fly all the time, so maybe they would want to tune in and learn more about that idea, and we can offer that to people and think that it can be of interest to them when they're listening.
Now let's go back for a second, because that whole weather modification, you're poo-pooing it, but I'm telling you, I saw Geostorm and that looked like a great movie.
Oh man, I still need to watch that. I have refrained from watching it
for research purposes only.
Yeah.
That's right.
You got to be drinking while you're watching it. It's one of those movies. Like that could totally happen,
Well, I remember at the Weather Channel, we had a lot of people out in front of the Weather Channel, with signs that were concerned about the chemtrails. I mean, they were out in front of the Weather Channel and they had their signs up there saying they were worried about chemtrails and poisoning, the world with this. So, I mean, there are definitely those theories out there. But anyway, that was interesting. But tell us a little bit I was interested about FEMA. What kind of work did you guys do for FEMA? Or I guess it was men who did this.
Actually, Castle worked with FEMA as well.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, tell us.
So with FEMA, for me, I was working in Denver at the regional offices at the Pathways intern in 2016. So a lot of that was dealing with communication of disaster information, using social media, using different types of techniques. They like to use the phrase social listening. So you're going through all the different social media channels and you're looking for different reports that people might have that can contribute, kind of like crowdsourcing information, but you're going out there actively looking for it. So with FEMA, in addition to doing the communication side, I told them I had, a meteorology background to offer to them. So I went into their FEMA regional offices and sat down with them and said, okay, when it comes to severe weather, you guys get a lot of hailstorms, you guys get tornadoes out in the Front Range of Colorado, and you guys get a lot of forest fires and things like that, wildfires. So how do you track that information? What is your relationship like with the National Weather Service and other entities and other public partners? And then how can we work on that? So they were talking to NWS in certain ways, and I was trying to connect them better to National Weather Service representatives, NOAA representatives, and making sure that the FEMA regional office was well equipped to deal with weather events and understood different types of like training exercises. So getting them storm spotter training for people there, 'cause that's important for them to have as well, just to get a better understanding. But
Sure.
it was more communication, but also injecting the meteorology that I had that was kind of like a plus for them, a little bit of a bonus, so that they can enhance the way that they deal with weather.
Absolutely.
For me, I just briefly worked with FEMA as also as a pathways intern here in Atlanta during spring of 2015, I believe. And I worked on trying to find hurricane evacuation zones for all of FEMA Region 4 to see how they were depicted on websites and figure out how we could kind of bring them all together as a way to make sure that they were consistent with one another, so that they were all communicating the same information to individuals who were trying to get that necessary information when it was time to evacuate. So I worked with Rebecca Jennings at the time, now Rebecca Moulton. So she was fantastic, a great mentor, and it was a great experience.
Was any of that like real time, like traffic wise for the evacuation? So it's like, okay, now this route is blocked, so take this one, or how did that all work?
No, it was just kind of gathering on their websites, like what the actual evacuation zones were, making sure they matched up with what FEMA region headquarters was trying to promote on their individual websites. So it was just kind of like a precautionary thing, because it wasn't during hurricane season. So it was like trying to prepare for the upcoming season to make sure that everyone was being consistent in the way that they were kind of portraying where people should go and what routes they should take.
Because that'd be a cool idea, except probably your traffic reporter is already evacuated too, so there's nobody there doing it.
Yeah, you screwed at that point. So, man, I know you did your thesis. You worked on smartphone apps, weather apps, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What and I think you were looking a little bit as to what people were, what information they were getting, and what decisions they were making from that. I'm curious if you happen to find anything that really surprised you.
I'm trying to think, and honestly, there wasn't any like big surprises other than the fact that, so the point of me doing that for my thesis was, again, I love weather and communication. There's such a gap in the literature and meteorology about where people get their weather information from. I think the most recent research articles are really pointing still to local TV, local news as being where you get weather forecasts. But I think it's really obvious, especially with my generation, we see everybody with their smartphone. We see them pulling out their Weather Channel app, AccuWeather app, whatever they're using, scrolling through the hourly forecast and whatnot. So for me, I wanted to update that and provide a new foundation for future researchers who are looking into smartphone and how they communicate weather. So most of the findings, I didn't think they were too surprising, right? So people relied on their hourly forecasts a lot. They relied on their more short-term forecasts. Confidence in forecasts would decrease as the days went on. And so they'd have more trust in a 5-day forecast versus a 10 or 15-day forecast that you can get on some of these apps, right? And then they also had a lot of interest in things like the current conditions. People wanted to know about humidity a lot. And I think it made sense because the schools that I was surveying were all in the Southeast. And so humidity is quite an issue when it comes to, you know, how comfortable you are, your hair, your clothes, you know, whatever. Nothing was too surprising from what I gathered. But again, the point of it was to provide a foundation, and hopefully people can take that and then use it to further look into the idea of you know, how people perceive weather forecasts, what practices they use, and things like that.
Let me ask you this, and I don't know if either one of you guys have researched this or know about this. I was thinking, you know, you've got your phone app, your weather apps, you're getting your forecast, you're getting your warnings off your phone. Do you see a trend, or think there could be a trend of people trusting their phones more than humans, and trusting the computer that more than watching somebody on TV and telling them to take cover? They would trust their phone more? I mean, is that where we're headed? Maybe that maybe even the human aspect is not even an issue. You know, when somebody gets a warning, they trust their phone more than they'll trust somebody on the television.
Castor, you want to start off with that?
Sure. I feel like it appears that we're heading that direction, but I would say that the human element is always going to be important. When people get a notification on their phone that says there's a tornado warning, they instantly go to confirm that, usually with some sort of human element, or a person. They look for a face in order to tell them that, yes, this is true. So I think that technology, while it's improving our dissemination of weather information and warnings, it's kind of still being second nature to kind of the human element. And with Min's work, a lot of his was or most or all of it actually was just for daily weather information, just like what you get every day. So it wasn't even looking at severe weather, which I think is still television is still the #1 for severe weather, because people get the alert on their phone, but then they need to confirm it with someone who knows what they're doing, or they have some sort of human aspect that they can relay back to them.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll go off of that too in saying that there are studies that show that people for hurricane coverage will go to TV, whether it's the Weather Channel and a cable television station or their local news, because they want to see somebody talking about the hurricane. A hurricane's a more longer duration event, as opposed to, you can get a hurricane warning on your phone forever and ever, but what's that really telling you? But I think what really got me, and a specific event that got me into thinking about smartphones, was I was working with somebody and they were lacing on their running shoes and they were about to go for a run, and there was thunder and lightning outside, and I was thinking, okay, it's about to rain, where are you going? And they said, well, my weather app told me it won't rain for another 2 hours, so I have time to go for a run. And this person should know better, because they're in a situation where they're an emergency manager. I won't name names.
Wow.
So, sorry. It's a big world. It's a big world. They won't know.
It's a big world.
They're 22 years old, brown eyes.
Smaller.
I didn't specify any gender or race or anything, so you never know who it is.
We're cool.
But so they said that, and I was just like, but I mean, every common sense sign points to the fact that it's literally about to rain, yet you're defying that based on this app, and you're trusting this device, this machine telling you this. So, I think it comes down to the idea of convenience, right? Smartphone is there in your hand. You can look at it. You can look to it for weather information, and turning on the TV or waiting for the right time for the weather to be on TV is also inconvenient too. So they'll go to their phone at first, but if it's not something too significant, like a normal daily forecast, they're going to go to their phone for it. For severe weather, like we always get those WE alerts, the wireless emergency alert system from the federal government. And most people I've seen, they'll just like swipe it away and not even think about it. Even if it's like a tornado warning, people be like, swipe left. It's not Tinder, right? But they still swipe right or swipe left. It's crazy. But I was sitting in a New York City cab, and there was like a flash flood warning, and he's like, this thing's been going off 20 times today, and he just like swipes it and just doesn't, while it's like pouring down raining. We are driving through a flood, and I'm in the Uber like, please don't float away.
Wow. I know there was a study a long time ago. I know this was going back probably in the 90s. And I remember Dr. Steve Lyons in a seminar, a hurricane expert at the Weather Channel. He said, he came back from, I guess it was an AMS conference or something, but he came back and said that it took like 20 times to be told, like somebody to be told like over 20 times to take cover before they actually act on it.
You know what that is?
What's
That's just bad parenting. You should only have to be told once.
That's right. That's possible.
Well,
let's
let's be realistic with the fact that the average person does not have radar scope on their phone. The average person's not monitoring the SPC outlook for the day to figure out what's coming today. What's the average person, as you just talked about, Min, is going to look at their phone the day of. If there's no warnings or alerts, they're just going to look at their phone because no one's watching news anymore. And that's what they're going to do. So unless they get an alert, that's the first time that the average person probably is aware of what's going on with the weather around them. Would you agree?
I agree completely. I think, that's what it was shown in my research as well, that people only looked at their phone, I think, for per day up to a minute or 2 minutes tops for their weather app. And during a special, like a certain time, if you're looking at it, they might look at it for like 30 seconds, get the forecast, and then turn it off and go to another app or do whatever else on their phone. So they're not spending much time on their phone, and they're just looking at their phone, you know, at times that would be conducive for right before I go to bed, I'm gonna look at my phone real quick, or right when I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna look at my phone, figure out what I should wear, if I should bring my umbrella, so on and so forth. But you're right what you were saying too, just anecdotally talking to my friend, that severe weather that came through our area early this week, or in Atlanta anyway. I was talking to my friend on the phone, and I was like, so you know there are tornadoes like just, you know, west of Atlanta, and you live in Atlanta. And she's like, oh, I had no idea. And so I stayed on the phone with her as she was like taking cover during a tornado warning. And she was like, I'm glad you called me and told me that, because I would have not known, even though to me, I was like, oh, you know, there's a huge tornado outbreak in Alabama and Georgia. But to the normal daily person, they're not tuning in. They don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the weather community thinks that people in the public know about weather all the time like we do. But no, we love weather, and we are really passionate about it, so we stay informed. But the day-to-day person isn't gonna know that much about what's going on unless it directly affects them, unless they get that, you know, push notification.
So Castle, has it gotten worse? Because people used to at least watch the news, and the weather would at least get, you know, the TV meteorologist would give them an update on at least what's coming today or what's coming tomorrow. And if no one's really watching that, all they're doing is just the hourly forecast on their phone. Is our ability to warn people actually gotten worse?
Well, I don't have the information to answer that question, but we haven't factored in social media yet, which is what a lot of the weather community is kind of devoting their resources to now at this point, is social media and Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and trying to get all these different mediums to kind of maximize on not having, I guess, that high television audience that they used to have. Yeah. But if we think about it, like even on television, I don't know like the statistics, but there's like, well, you get like 8 minutes or something in order to tell them. So even then, that wasn't a lot of time. So I think what we're having to do is warn people in other ways, which involves Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat. So I think that there are other ways. The warning process is different now. I guess that's how I'll say it. And so it's hard. I don't have the evidence to say yay or nay that it's worse warning people now, but I think there is a lot going on. There's a lot of noise around. So I think that there's definitely the possibility that it's kind of getting left behind a bit.
Do we need a new app where if like that guy swipes, you know, after like 4 times and it's coming towards him, the app geo positions where he is and says, okay, no, seriously, Bob, you need to take cover now, you know, I didn't get the seriously one. Then I would have, you know, I mean, is it getting to the point where there's just so much of that noise? We're like, whatever. Or, you know, Min, you were like the buddy system. Think about that for a second, where I don't know, maybe that's another part of social media where if something happens, you know, you call Robin, are you taking shelter? Well,
yeah,
I didn't take shelter because, you know, Min didn't call me.
That could be a new National Weather Service slogan, like,
oh gosh,
storm comes,
You're
get
right.
a buddy, or so you got to rhyme it, obviously.
That's right.
I don't have my rhyme and flow going right now.
What rhymes with buddy? I can't think of it right now.
Hey, they have the buddy system in extreme heat alerts, so
Oh, that's true.
Who does? Yeah, but who uses it?
I mean, like elderly population.
You check on the elderly. They tell you go check on your friends and elderly.
I'll be there.
Bud Light commercials. Yeah.
Right.
So Castle, I want to know what's your, I know you're working on your thesis right now, correct? Your doctoral?
My dissertation, yeah.
Your dissertation. So what is that about, and what are you hoping to find from it?
Sure. So I'm trying to figure out this word that we use often in the weather enterprise called consistency, and what it means for us to be consistent in our weather messaging. So specifically in my dissertation, I'm looking at, so for example, I'm looking at SPC, like convective outlooks, and what happens when we see conflicting ones, or ones that have used different colors, different language, that show people in different zones. So what does that make a difference when we're trying to communicate weather information? We have numerous discussions and arguments and back and forths about, we're not using the same colors as SPC, but that's okay, because we know the local area better, so we can kind of maneuver it to what we want. And so I want to settle that argument once and for all, and by showing whether consistency is important and also what it means to be consistent and work towards providing some operational goals for our community and trying to figure out where do we go next, and maybe some best practices on how we can better graphically depict SPC outlooks.
That's awesome. I know people went crazy when we changed the color tables on the radar. I mean, they get used to that, or it's something consistent, something they recognize, and then you change it up on them, or somebody's showing something different, and it makes them anxious. So I applaud what you're doing. I definitely need it. It's needed for sure.
But how do you improve advancement? So you're trying to get better. How do you, if your focus is consistency, that kind of is against change for the better, correct? I mean,
it depends on how you define consistency. So how would you define consistency?
Similar, same. Okay. So if it's in messaging, it would be similar messaging, word, verbiage, colors, how it's reported, where it's reported.
I would have changed that. See, because there's an app I use here in town, Fox 19, and and I'll tell you, they're very good at what they do, because each meteorologist has a 1-minute video recording, and of course it's sponsored, so the station's making money too. But where they put a little something out, like something like you would do in a normal television tease, how much snow are we going to get at tonight, 11, one of those type of things, only they're doing it with the video, and it'll come up. And if it grabs my attention, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to watch that one. It's only a minute long. And consistency for me is that they're always consistently doing that. I can count on them to have the, whatever the update is, if they have the updated information. So that's the way I looked at consistency.
Gotcha.
Was my mic on?
So there's two, I guess if we think about your definition, there's two different ones then. Consistently updating. So am I getting it on a regular basis? Whereas the consistency that I'm thinking about is, how are we depicting our message, or how are we communicating our message? Is it similar, as in we have kind of like a guidance for using same colors, same language that SPC uses? But some people define consistency in our community as being exactly the same, identical. But then that starts to ask questions about, how do we integrate creativity into that? And is our audience going to get bored after seeing the same exact thing over and over and over? So I think there are lots of questions that go into consistency, and I can see your argument, Phil, but I would argue also that if we continue on the path that we're going to kind of split, with people continuing to use different ways of depicting our message and others staying similar. So I think it's kind of, we're at this crossroads where we have to kind of define as a community, what does consistency mean if we're going to continue using it as we're promoting that we have a consistent message. Until we figure out what that means and kind of set some best practices for how we can uphold that in our community, we're going to kind of divulge, and people are going to continue communicating with different words, different language. And I don't have evidence for it, but I feel like that probably causes confusion.
And I agree that that's where I think the challenge is, not that consistency isn't important, but I think that becomes the challenge, really becomes the challenge of going, okay, we want to advance and move forward,
right?
But how can we do that and keep as much consistency as possible? And if we have to sacrifice some aspect of our consistency, what is it going to be for advancement? So is colors more important than verbiage? Is how often it's delivered more important than a specific time of the day it's delivered? Or it's trying to figure out, okay, well, what are we going to sacrifice because we got to get better? We got to do something new.
Sure. So quickly, I'll address that a bit. So in my dissertation, I'm isolating kind of the different things that you just said. I'm not doing how frequently they receive a message, but I'm isolating colors. I'm isolating verbiage. I'm isolating if their geographic spatial risk is depicted differently. And like if one area I'm an orange and one area I'm a yellow, and how that changes things. So what I'm doing is trying to isolate these things to figure out where are the places that we need to fight for best practices, and where are there areas where we could kind of let it go a bit.
Cool.
We don't have, I don't think we have the power to, but if we did, I think you've just proven yourself. We're going to call you Dr. Castle right now. Okay.
I think so. We should.
Honorary
Yeah.
front freaks
Yes.
doctorate.
Yeah.
Thank
Our
you.
first one. Our first
Yeah,
one.
You're right. There's more to come.
Don't put it on your resume. That's all
Come
I'll
on,
say.
man. Come on.
Hey,
man. Do it.
we'll keep talking about this more in our discussion, but I do want to ask you guys, Castle and Min, first off, how can listeners find Weather Hype?
Should we do our little spiel, Castle?
Yeah,
Go.
for it. All right.
You can find us in a variety of places, including facebook.com/weatherhype or weatherhypepodcast.com.
You can also find us on Twitter using @weatherhype.
Good. Okay, I was worried you didn't have your script in front of you, Castle, but good job.
Well, I almost said the website, but I was like,
Nice.
that's men's thing. I forgot.
He's been drinking. Yeah.
And then individually, Castle, individually, how can listeners find you on social media?
You can find me at WXCastle
On Twitter?
on Twitter. Yeah.
Okay, how about you, Min?
And WXMin, MINH, on Twitter as well.
Cool. All right, folks, it is time for the lightning round. This is our game show of brilliant questions for our guests. We always invite everyone to play along, including you. This will be a little more difficult tonight because tonight we're playing the newlywed game. Anytime we get a chance to have more than one guest on the show, this is our opportunity to bring in the newlywed game. And I think it works really well. Last time we did this was Tornado Trackers. It was three guys that always chased together, and it was kind of a strange love triangle we had going on there. But tonight, we just got the two of Min and Castle, and so I have sent them questions to answer and to return back to me. So these are all previously answered things, so no one has to go into a silent room while we ask one of you questions, all that stuff. We've already taken care of that. So Min, I'm going to start with you.
Great.
You get to start us off.
You better
And
get one
so-
right.
Let me
or
take
else.
another drink real quick.
Yep, help yourself.
A big one.
Chug it down. Okay, so here's the question, Min, to you. First question: who is most likely to sing in the shower? You or Castle? What did you say?
I said me.
You said
I'm
you.
more likely.
Okay. And Castle, do you remember what you said?
Yes, I said men also.
You said Min as well. All right.
Heck yeah. One for one.
Yes.
I'll throw 10 points to you guys on that. Good job. Well done. All right, and this is a bonus question then that kind of goes along with that, Min. If Castle were to sing in the shower, what song would he most likely sing? Remember
Oh
what you said?
man. I said I knew the singer. I said it would probably be someone a song by Ariana Grande.
Oh,
Correct.
I don't know if you agree with that.
Castle,
That
do
is
you
good.
remember what you said you would sing in the shower? You
Yeah.
kind of did, but what was it?
yeah. I just said it would be whatever's popular at the time, like on Pop Rising Spotify list. But that Ariana Grande is a good
And I
guess.
tell you what, I'm going to give you 5 points for that. You cheated a little bit, but I'm sure Ariana's on the Spotify Pop Rising playlist. So I'll give that to you. So you're starting off with a bang here, man. Good job. All right. Next question, man. What animal best describes Castle? What'd you say?
I said he's not too fond of dogs, but I think he would be a dog because he's a very loyal friend. I don't know if obedience is the right word. That sounds weird. But
yeah, that's kind of weird.
Way to spin it, buddy. Way to spin it.
My bad. But he's a very loyal friend, and he'll always be there for you, no matter what.
Well,
And
that's
so,
sweet.
that's
That's
the
sweet.
answer I gave.
That's a
Well,
bromance, man. That's awesome.
Castle, what did you
This
say?
is really what game.
I said he would. I said men would also be a dog.
No.
Oh.
What did you say? You
I said I would be a
What's-
cat.
what-
I would be a cat
you would be a cat, and why
Yeah,
did you say
because-
cat?
because I am kind of. It takes me a while to warm up to people, and so I like to be on my own, and so I figured that would be more like a cat because they do what they want, but when they want to be loved, they find someone for that.
All right. Well, unfortunately, cats and
Uh-huh.
dogs. I'm not going to give you any points for
Do
those.
you guys ever watch? There was a cartoon called Cat Dog.
Cat
It was the
Dog.
same animal.
It's
Yeah.
right.
That's
there.
right.
So I think we get 5
Front
points.
freak.
Come on.
Doesn't work here. All right. Question number 4, Min. Castle's favorite junk food. What did you say you thought Castle's favorite junk food was?
Did I say saltwater taffy?
You did say saltwater taffy. You did.
He used to eat Mike and Ike's all the time, but he said he recently stopped.
Hey, just one answer, man. Just one.
Sorry.
He recently got off the Mike and Ike wagon,
Well,
and now he's on the saltwater taffy wagon. Well, Castle, what is your favorite junk food?
I said candy, so
It's candy. All right, I'll give you 10 points for that. That's a match. That's a good match. Congratulations.
For knowing all that information. Come on.
All right,
I know,
question
right?
number 5, Min. What item of clothing does Castle wear that you never would?
Sorry, Castle. I said anything American Eagle.
oh, that's good.
I had
Fair.
American Eagle polo shirts.
There you go.
fair.
Is what
fair.
Min said. But Castle, what item of clothing do you have that you didn't think Min would ever wear of yours?
I said this was hard, but I said a tie because he's recently like getting out of wearing ties. He's too cool for them. So that's
They
what
give me neck burn. It's too
I know.
tight at an
I
AMS
hate
meeting.
ties. I hate ties too, man. I'm
Yeah,
with you on that. Here's what I would have done if Min had you just said American Eagle clothing. I'm sure they make ties. I might have given you some points for that, but you did say polo shirts, so 0 points on that one.
We just
And
lose
then-
another sponsor.
And then maybe, and then the last one, Castle
Yeah.
is, or I'm sorry, Min. What did you say was Castle's favorite movie?
Oh shoot.
Do you remember? It had something
No,
to
I
do
don't.
with October 31st.
Oh, that's right. I said Halloween Town.
Halloween
That's
Town. And I don't even know what that is. Is that a
No.
Disney movie?
Of course it is. How do you not know what
Yeah,
Halloween Town is?
I'm sure my
How
my
dare
9-year-old.
you.
I'm sure he watched it.
How dare
Okay,
you.
Castle, you really cheated on this one. But what
Yeah,
did you say?
I mean-
your favorite movie?
I mean, this is true. Like, I don't have one. I don't have a favorite movie.
All right. Well, that sucks. You don't get any points for that. That
know.
was cheap.
Oh, come on.
All right, so I think I gave Min. I think you got 25 points on that one, so that's good.
Nice.
All right, Castle, your turn.
Admirable.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right, so Min, most likely to sing in the shower. What did you say would be the song he might most likely sing?
I cheated again and said that it was something that was popular at the time or on the Pop Rising playlist.
The Spotify Pop Rising play. There's just something that tells me you listen to that a lot.
We
I don't-
do.
There's something.
We both
I don't know
do.
what it is. No, Castle. I was talking to you specifically on that, but.
Well, we both do.
All right, Min, what did you say you would most likely be singing in the shower?
And so probably something by Shawn Mendes, which
Shawn
he has been
Mendes.
on the Pop Rising playlist.
All right,
So I
okay,
think-
so I'll go back and give you guys 5 points for that. That was somewhat of a match, a little bit of a cheat. Okay, Castle, what animal did you say best describes Min?
I also said he was a dog.
And why did you say dog?
Because he
Who's
most of the
obedient.
same reasons he said, but he's just like very warm person. He'll go up to anyone and talk to them. He's just always like he's super loyal and just a great friend.
Okay, Min, what animal did you say best describes you?
I said it was a dog.
You said it was a dog. That's a 10-point match. Very
Hey,
good.
Min, fetch me a beer, would you? Come on.
Yeah. Here, let me pass you one. Here you go. You can have my half drinking beer.
All right, Castle, what is Min's favorite junk food?
I said he doesn't have a junk food, but
You
I-
didn't know.
I-
See, that
I-
would cheat. God, I
I
would
know-
have hated you. And you just said, "Oh, I don't have a favorite movie. I don't have a favorite."
I mean that is an answer on the Newlywed Game. They say stuff like "I don't have one," and your partner's supposed to know that.
I know, but yeah,
Um,
okay. Yeah, you
Okay.
still-
Well, what I said was, if I said I had to guess, I said like the ramen packets. I don't know.
ramen. This is the first time in my life I've ever heard ramen as a junk food.
Junk food, yeah.
Probably appropriate, but first time I've heard that. All right, Min, what is your favorite junk food? What'd you say?
Ramen's a good choice, but I said French fries.
Said French fries. All right, that is not a match. Okay, Castle, item of clothing Min wears that you never would.
Tank tops.
Tank tops.
Oh, that's a good one. Dang it.
Sweet. Okay, yeah, and Min, obviously you didn't say that. What did you say is your item of clothing he would not
What are
wear?
you talking about?
Not in public.
my
I
gosh.
don't wear them.
Not in public. Okay.
That wasn't the question in public. It's just something you wouldn't wear. Oh my god, you're tearing a rift between us right now. No, I'm kidding. I think I said jean jacket.
You said jean jacket. You did, and of course that would be
wear
not a
that.
match. So no match there. All right, last one. Castle, what do you think's Min's favorite movie?
This was hard, but I said Moana.
Moana. You're welcome.
Was it Frozen?
You're welcome.
No.
Min, what is
Okay.
it? What is it? This is even
said
better.
Miss Congeniality.
Congeniality.
That's a good one.
From 1998 or something, right? When was that movie
Something
out?
like that, yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
no
must have-
points on that. Castle,
2000s.
15 points. Min, you had 25. You are the winner of our newlywed game.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
Well
Wow.
done. Well
What do they
done.
win? What do they win?
They win pride. We
Pride.
always hand out lots of pride on this
Lots
show.
of pride.
You win lots of pride. Great job, guys.
That's
Thanks for playing along. That was good. All right. Hey, Zoom Radar. A lot of you guys know Zoom Radar. They provide interactive radar and storm chasing maps for professional and amateur weather websites at affordable prices. Zoom Radar has the fastest updating, highest resolution radar available on the web, combined with dozens of live storm chasing streams from Severe Studios Storm Chasers. And we'll agree, we've got one of those on our website as well. Great radar. So visit zoomradar.com to grab free content for your own website, or download the Zoom Radar Storm Chasers app to watch captivating live chasing. All right, we're going to take a break. If you're listening to the audio podcast, you'll get to hear the latest edition of the Titan U Minute with Chris Sanner. But stay right here. We'll be back to discuss the future use of images and video in severe weather communication, and if video killed the radio star. See what I did there, guys?
I did. I like it.
Star?
Good. All right, break.
Nice.
Video killed the radio star?
Isn't it store?
What?
Radio killed the radio star?
Video killed the radio store. I thought it was.
No,
Are you sure?
it wasn't. Yeah, no, I'm pretty
I'm gonna
sure it
Google it.
wasn't store. You can do that, though. Go ahead and Google it, brother.
Radio
That's-
killed the radio shack?
It's-
What
you
happened
know,
to Kim?
Did we lose Kim again? Yeah, I don't know.
We did, yeah, a long time ago. Did she
Oh,
didn't
seriously?
text you or anything, did
She
she?
just didn't like the newlywed game, apparently.
Yeah, she was done talking. Yeah, she didn't like the newlywed game because we didn't let her play. Normally, we let the freaks play, and then we didn't let them play along this time.
I
all
was just fine with that.
All right.
Oh, you're right. Phil, you're right. I just Googled it.
Yeah, thank you.
30 years, I thought it was something else. All right.
Oh, here she comes back.
Guys, you got me.
Awkward.
Oh my
You're back. You
gosh.
missed the newlywed
back.
game.
I
We
did.
missed ya.
Who won? Who won?
I did, of course.
did.
One.
Oh, of course. Darn. I don't know what is going on here. I'm just blacking out here. I don't know.
All right. Drinking too much. Okay, let's,
I guess
let's keep rolling. We're going kind of late. So here's
We
what
can
we'll
keep
do.
moving.
Okay, good.
When,
Keep
when
moving.
we come back, those of you watching us live, again, thanks for joining in. Hope you're having fun like we are. Hey, when we come back, I'm going to introduce video and images and severe weather communicating, whether it's communicating danger and risk or trying to solicit action in people. What are the positives? Where are we going with using video and images? And I'll throw out some examples of, the Facets program that NOAA and the National Weather Service is working on instead of the Polygon system to communicate risk of storm tracks. Also, we can talk about the geography. People don't know where they live. So how is the future going to set up for communicating risk when people don't know where they live? If you're throwing up maps of counties and stuff like that, visually, what are we going to do? We can also talk about, obviously now a lot of news stations are using storm chasers to try and get video of the storms because they found that people will react, are more likely to react if they really see it happening or see it close to places they know. So I'll introduce that, and that's just kind of a free-for-all discussion on where we think that's going and where examples might be. Sound good?
Perfect.
Sounds great.
Yeah, sadly, it's all a scathing indictment of our education system.
That's true. Geography especially, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is so true. Oh.
Okay, so we'll come back. We'll do that, and then we'll take our final break. Okay, everybody
Sounds
ready?
good. Yeah.
Here we go.
All right, MJ.
Here we are in 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back. Hey, with Min and Castle joining us tonight, we kind of wanted to tap into some of their knowledge of severe weather communication, but get everyone's feedback about what the future holds with communicating through video and images. Things like trying to communicate the risk of severe weather, the danger of severe weather, and how can we use video and or images to better get people to react and to act. We talked a little bit about that with the cell phones, and how do we get people to react, especially if visually they're swiping off their notifications on their cell phone. What is the future? And Castle, I'll pick your brain first. What do you think is the future of video and images to get people to act and to help communicate severe risk?
Well, this is a difficult question because I think video and images are important, and I think it's how we use them is going to be kind of the way that the path of the future is kind of paved. So some studies have shown that having live streams of a tornado coming really helps with increasing someone's perceived risk and lowering their uncertainty about a certain event actually happening. So those things are important. But then on the flip side, you don't want someone risking their lives in order to provide that footage. So it's a hard toss up there. But I mean, if it were me, I think it's important that we think through utilizing sky cams and figuring out how we can better place those and in other cities, especially in rural areas, because those areas are just as important.
Or drones.
Yeah, or drones, UAVs, using all this new technology in order to both not put a human life at risk through chasing, but also to get that visual confirmation, because like Phil said, that does make a difference in getting someone to act.
What about if we you're talking a little bit about sky cams? I think that's a great idea. Obviously, we're seeing that more and more along major interstates and major cities with their traffic cams. We just got done talking about how crappy my Sprint coverage was. What about putting cameras up on cell towers? They're obviously all over the place.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Could you get a cheap, inexpensive camera that obviously your Wi-Fi signal's right there, basically, that you can hook in? And I would think that that'd be a pretty inexpensive way to do that. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I think it would be a great partnership with AT&T or Verizon, or I'm not super up on who does cell towers, but getting them involved in that could be a great way to kind of maximize our coverage of visual information. So I think it's important. But something else to kind of take into consideration is how we're using these images together. So there's been some studies that have looked at when we compare radar images to like live footage of something, and it's been shown that if we use them like side by side, it reduces the impactfulness of the radar because it becomes something that is showing certainty versus something that's showing uncertainty. And so when we use them in tangent, it starts to throw off like the powerfulness of the radar image. So I think it's important in thinking about the future about how we're using these different tools and intertwining them as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was thinking, because, I know a lot of times they'll put the little radar image at the bottom of the screen or something while the meteorologist is talking. And you would think, well, if it was really important, he would have that image in front of him and he'd be talking about it. So I could see I see what you mean.
What do you think? Obviously, talking a little bit about the phones from a visual aspect. We got done talking about severe weather. If people aren't learning about the possibility of severe weather anytime during the day because they're not watching TV and they don't have a radar scope, they don't have the National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center's convective outlook for the day, what visually? Because if we know that's what helps get people to act, what can we do from a cell phone side of things if that's the direction people are going?
Oh, such a tough question. I think it comes down to the awareness that people need to understand that they need to take more responsibility for being knowledgeable about the world around them. I think a lot of times the younger generation is accused often of being really self-centric and not really thinking about things outside of their own little bubble. And I think that somehow can also impact their gathering of news information or, gathering of weather information to keep themselves safe. And they only know when that alert happens. I don't know if there's anything that we can really do visually or even on a cell phone other than to have that information on social media. On Facebook, it'll tell you, today you should bring your umbrella because it's going to rain when you, first load up Facebook, which a lot of times is really inaccurate if you guys have noticed or have seen that. social media outlets are trying to be that, we're here for every single thing you can do. Facebook especially is trying to be like the go-to for every single thing, whether it's to sell your stuff or whatever. So that could be a way to do it where, you log into your Twitter account or you log into Snapchat and it tells you, here's what's going on. I know Snapchat now has a story mode where you can see they'll have like a breaking news section and they'll show different users with tornado footage or severe weather footage or blizzard footage, and they'll put it all up in there, and people around the country, around the world can see that video. So that's another way that they're staying informed. But for severe weather, immediate things that are impacting them, I'm not sure what would change or what could change unless they just take more responsibility and look at the weather forecast for, ahead of time to know that there might be severe weather that day.
Aren't we at a point though, Maz, don't you think we're at a point to where it's hard to expect people to take to say that? I mean, I think that's an answer to, that's an answer to a lot of crap, right?
Yeah.
But aren't we past that point that we're in a day and age with cell phones and everything else that people want to be catered to?
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to take responsibility. Maybe do you think the responsibility somehow has got to fall back on the social media companies? Or Maz, you were talking about the app that you, is there maybe the responsibility's got to, well, it's not responsibility, but the action has to be taken there. Yes.
Right. And I think I was just thinking about this. Not every station, I don't want to say has the ability, but right now offers the ability to go live on your phone. And so if you're just getting the information and you're just swiping, really it should be something where I know they want people to go to tune into that particular channel, but in an emergency situation like that, the stations that are simulcasting it on your phones, as long as you've got unlimited data, which I think is the trend of the future, you got to have all this data. Now you're going to have somebody there telling you, here's this. Now I know it's a small screen, but that's the ability to use both the technology and to take you right there, because I'm not home. I wish I were in front of my TV, but now I have the ability to be in front of my TV. And so they could actually utilize both at the same time. I think the stations that really want to be in the future, they have to have that live version as part of their app, or at least during severe weather, have it offered, because they could promo the heck out of that. And because that's what stations are. Yeah, we want to serve the community, but they want to make money. And what drives the money is eyeballs. So, if they can get people there on there nonstop, there's a ton of stuff they can do to still make money, but they're doing a huge service for the community then.
Well, just taking back the example from this past week with the tornado outbreaks in Alabama and Georgia, I'm going to ask a kind of provocative question, but is it really a problem, right? Like, there weren't that many fatalities. Jacksonville, Alabama got slammed. The college campus got slammed. Nobody died. South of Atlanta, with Fairburn, I think, that got hit, and a bunch of homes were destroyed, but nobody died either. Is it a problem necessarily that people may not know of severe weather until it's about to bear down on them, until they get that alert?
That's a great question. I was thinking the same thing, man, and wondering if it has to have gotten better, I would think, overall. I mean, going back 50 years ago, just because of social media and the other ways of getting this information, I can't help but think it's gotten better. But I think that's a great question. And I imagine there's a study out there somewhere, or there should be anyway, if you're going to work on your doctorate. Maybe that's something, your thesis, that sounds like something good you should do.
Dissertation.
Yeah.
Dissertation. Sorry. Yes. Excuse me.
That was for you, Castle.
Yeah. Great. I think also what it comes down to is we are reaching a lot of people, but even if we do reach them and give them all the necessary information, we can't hold their hand and make them act. We can only do so much as meteorologists in order to get them to act. And as crappy as that sounds, like, that's the reality. Like, there's going to be a segment of the population that just is going to not do anything. It's just like when we think about who yells the loudest on Twitter, that's always like this really small percentage of people. So we can't always take that as what is kind of the ideas surrounding the public. But I mean, for like the large part, like, people are listening to us, they're acting. And I think that if we're going for that gold standard of 100%, we're always going to come up short. So I think it's important that we keep doing amazing things like we're doing, but we can't kind of hurt ourselves or look down on ourselves for not reaching every single person or holding every single person's hand to act.
Well, I'll tell you this. We could probably talk about this all night, but we always want our listeners, viewers, let us know what you guys think on this topic. What do you think the future of video and imaging is in order to help communicate risk, in order to help communicate, take action? Where do you guys see this going? You can always let us know. You can email at questions@stormfrontfreaks.com, or you can find us on Twitter or Facebook and tag us your thoughts. So we can go ahead and actually share that on our next show. Hey, Severe Weather Center has the severe weather professional covered from the air and ground. By employing only FAA certified and licensed remote pilots with extensive chasing experience, critical live video from UAS drones can be delivered from a storm direct to media clients when time is precious. Contact Severe Weather Center at their website. It's at severeweathercenter.com, or by telephone at 866-535-8760. And don't worry, their severe weather outfitter hasn't gone anywhere. Weather Pro Shop is still doing what they do best. From spotter supplies and apparel to educational materials and training guides, get what you need at weatherproshop.com. Hey, we're going to take our final break. You can refill your drink, because I will. And when we come back, it's time to share our WX resources, and we're going to add more to the Hall of Weather Fools. All right.
All right. Very good.
Who are you giggling with back there, Kim?
My husband.
Yeah, he's clowning around.
Yeah,
again,
he
isn't
was. He really was. You don't want to know.
Running around naked.
Now we do. Yeah.
The thing's done off camera.
Just like at the TV station. Yeah.
Okay. Well done. My question, Min and Castle, are you guys going to stick around, or are you heading out?
Yes.
I have a resource.
I don't know if I have a full.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a resource, but not.
Oh, God. Really? God, there were so many weather fools to pick from this past week or two.
I couldn't find any.
I got one. I got one
I
this
don't
time,
have
but I
it
hope it's
either.
not a duplicate.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's do this. I'm going to MJ, do you want to introduce Weather Fools?
Not really, but okay.
Well, you don't have to, but
Way to be a team player.
That's right. That's right.
since Brady's not here.
I wasn't prepared.
Yes or no? I don't care either way.
No, do. Oh wait, Maz does. No, you do Weather Fools. You
No,
usually-
Maz does WX resources.
Right.
Right. So you do Fools.
All
Because
right, so Maz, you'll do both. That's fine.
I'm doing
What?
listener questions.
How did that happen?
Well, Brady's not here. And Kim
You
did
better
the intro.
double my pay, buddy. I'm
We're
telling
gonna share the wealth. All right, I'll send you another hat. I promise.
Ooh, that'll work.
Hey,
All right, so who's got resources?
I do.
Kim. Okay.
I do.
Min. With an
I
H
do
at
as
the end.
well. Castle does.
Castle. By the way, Castle Weather or Weather Castle, that just sounds cool. I'd go check it out
It does,
just
yes,
to see what it
absolutely.
is. Right? I know it.
and I do too.
Phil, awesome.
Look at that. We got resources like galore.
I know.
Resources on resources.
Okay,
Thank
so
God
who's
to our
got-
guests? Yes.
Who's got Weather Fools?
I do.
Okay, MJ.
I actually have two I can use.
Phil showing off.
Yeah, well,
Okay, Phil, one of yours isn't an Irish jig, is it?
No, it is not.
Okay, good.
I can do one though if you want me to.
Well, that'd be cool.
No.
No,
Um,
it wouldn't.
And
Really?
I'm not this, just so you guys know, I'm gonna experiment, but I'm not gonna share my screen on any of these, just so I have to explain them. They might not be as funny because you won't visually see them, but I'll have to explain them, and I think that makes for a little better radio. So it's kind of an experiment on my end. You guys don't have to do that this show, but I just think sometimes when we share the screen, all of a sudden everyone starts laughing, and if you're listening, you have no freaking clue
No, true.
what's going on. Everyone's laughing at something, and so I'm an experiment with that this time. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, there goes Kim again.
Oh no!
Oh, wow.
Again?
Jeez. What's her husband doing? He's like doing something with a power cord.
Yeah.
He's Wi-Fi-ing something. He's stealing the bandwidth.
Oh, that's what you meant. Okay, I was like, Phil, what the heck?
Well, it could go either way, couldn't it? It could.
Okay.
So we'll give Kim a few minutes here. If she doesn't come on, we'll still go.
Did anybody else have a fool besides you and I, Phil?
Nope. You and I throwing people under the
Okay.
bus.
Well, if Kim doesn't come back, I'll start with you, Phil, and then
That's
I'll
fine.
go like Min, Castle, Kim, that type of thing. So
That works.
I don't need to show my screen either. I can set it up. I can actually use the little caption to set it up. So
no, you should, so we can just disseminate between the two.
all right. Research. Research.
Okay.
What's your husband doing to your bandwidth?
I don't know. They're doing something up there. I got all the boys home tonight, so
Oh, God.
they're messing with me.
Boys' night. All right, let's rock and roll.
All right. Who's coming in, Mass?
Yeah.
All right, here you're in 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back to Stormfront Freaks podcast. Time now for the best 2 segments. We'll say that tonight that we have here near the end of the show. Lots of fun weather resources, WX resources. Excuse me. This is one of the. You can find tons of stuff that's out there, but I love to hear who has found something new. That's just super cool because after you guys tell me, I go check it out and stuff. So, Phil, what do you have for tonight for a WX
All right,
resource?
so I'm going to share with you guys tonight, getting ready, obviously, for the storm season. One of the things I'm trying to do to add to my spotter slash chaser repertoire is more cameras. And I do not have a waterproof like GoPro camera, but I also didn't, because I don't have one yet and I haven't used one yet. I didn't feel like spending hundreds of dollars for one yet. So I actually jumped on Amazon and I found a camera. It's called the Review XP. It's a 4K action cam. It's basically exactly like a GoPro. It just doesn't have the GoPro name on it. It comes with remote control. It comes, I mentioned it's waterproof. It's 4K. It can do photos as well as video. And it has multiple attachments that you can put it on anything. And it was all for $60. It was rated 4.5 stars. And it's a great little camera. I've been playing with it a little bit already. But so far, so good. $60 GoPro knockoff. But it's called the Review XP 4K action cam.
Very cool. I like that. All right, Kim, you're not back yet. All right, we'll get to it in a little bit. Let's go to Matt. Just when you get ready to talk to her, she's gone. You're back now. Okay, go ahead, Kim. What do you have for a WX resource?
Okay, I do not. I can't bring up a website, but I was thinking, with tornado season here, some of our viewers may not be familiar with Tom Grzoulis and his significant tornado volumes that he has out. And I said, maybe you guys can help me with this. I thought I saw on Twitter somewhere that he's got a new update coming. Does anybody heard about that?
That is correct. Yep.
And
there's two volumes. He's reissuing the original.
Okay.
And then adding a second new volume since 86 or
91, I think was the
91.
last update.
Okay. Maybe that's what it was. Okay.
Or 95, maybe. I don't know. One of those. But I know I have the original and I have one of the volumes with me right here. But for those of you who are interested in tornadoes, and maybe you remember one from a long time ago, you can always get these and you can order it on Amazon and you can look up about the tornado. And it's really just a collection of at this point, over 60,000 tornadoes. And you can look it up and it talks about it. It's by state and by, I think it's anywhere from maybe an F1, because back then it was the F scale in this series anyway. But I think it's really a great thing to have. I mean, it's a great, a great tabletop, or what they call coffee table book. So that's my weather resource, I think. So it's great information about tornadoes that you may remember or that you want information on.
And it's the second time you've mentioned Amazon tonight, so I'm sensing another.
Did I mention Amazon earlier?
Oh yeah,
no, I did. That was when you were up walking around checking on your boy's bandwidth problem.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's go to Min. Min, how's Amazon treating you? No, what do you have for a WX resource tonight?
Min?
Man.
Calling
He's
Min.
frozen.
There you go. Unmute.
He was blacking out.
Is it working yet?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, cool. My weather resource is a book by our friend Brian Norcross, My Hurricane Andrew Story. It's about his experiences forecasting for Hurricane Andrew and the aftermath behind it. And I think a lot of times when you see a hurricane devastate an area, you see it on TV for a week or two, and after that, you kind of just forget about it because the coverage kind of goes away. But it really talks about the aftermath, what people deal with. And Hurricane Andrew is one of the most incredible hurricanes of the modern era. So would definitely give that a read and support our friend Brian Norcross, not just our friend, but the weather community friend. And it's a good read, and it really gives a lot of insight into what he was going through, and the painstaking hours of the before, during, and after the hurricane hit Miami and Homestead. So
how many are pictures, graphs, things like charts inside the book? Because it looks like it's about 500 pages.
Oh no, it's just a small little book. 200. The words are large. So I don't know if you can tell. The words are really big.
That is
so it's like
the children's
picture
book.
It's children's, and it's definitely for me. What's it called one more time?
Very easy. My Hurricane Andrew Story.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, man. How about Castle? Can you?
Yes, sir.
I also have a book. So it's I don't know if you can see it, but it's called Minding the Weather: How Expert Forecasters Think. So it's a new book that just came out that kind of utilizes psychology in order to look at how operational forecasters think and how they become experts at something. So it provides a lot of history behind how we forecast the weather and how we are getting better at it, and different ways of looking at it from a social science perspective.
How do they become experts in it?
I think I'm in that book, aren't I? I think I'm in that book.
Are you?
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
like,
laugh,
I'm
you
only
guys,
halfway through it,
laugh.
so I don't know.
Okay.
And she's holding a beer too. Amazing.
That's all right.
All right. So if you missed any of those links or titles or any of that, you can check us out on Stormfront Freaks episode 49 show notes, and we will have all that information. That's it for WX Resources. Time now to move to Weather Fools. Now we got a couple, 2 or 3. MJ, he's been quiet here for a while, so I'm expecting you got a good one tonight, right?
I think so. And I know we're doing this thing where, folks that are watching you, we're not showing our screens here. So you have to go, as Maz said, to stormfrontfreaks.com and look at the show notes to get these links. But it was St. Patrick's Day, as you all know, recently. And Lucas Ross, weatherman for KFOR in Oklahoma City, took an attempt at Irish dancing on screen in front of the green screen. And you have to go take a look at this one. Again, look at our show notes and take a look at it, because he takes a nasty spill in the middle of his jig. Yeah, it's fun to watch. And then the reaction of the anchor who comes in to try to help him is also pretty good. So you definitely want to take a look at that.
That's not part of. I don't know jigs, but I'm assuming falling's not part of the dance.
Generally not.
No.
Okay, generally
I
not.
just had to be sure.
Is he Irish?
Lucas Ross. I'm not so sure.
Lucas Oras.
Ross, yes. But I think he will be a candidate for our Hall of Fame.
It's that good.
Hall of Weather Fools. Yeah, I don't know. We'll think of something.
All right, awesome. All right, Phil, you got 1 or 2 tonight.
I actually have 2 tonight. I could have brought 4 or 5. I'll be honest with you. I've in the last 2 weeks, what I've seen on social media, holy buckets. There is lots of good stuff, but I'm bringing the 2 best ones tonight. The first one was actually, both of these were on Twitter, but this one was from @WeatherTap, TAP, @WeatherTap. They posted a Facebook page from Lone Star Hurricane Center. Everybody's familiar with good old Lone Star Hurricane Center. It's a weather station / steak restaurant, I think. But anyway, Lone Star Hurricane Center, they posted on Facebook their hurricane seasonal outlook for 2018. And they basically had a map of the Gulf Coast. And along the Gulf Coast, they highlighted, Castle, you'll like this. They used multiple colors.
Great.
And they highlighted in 2018, here's going to be the hurricane hotspots, the elevated areas, and the normal zones. So there are 3 zones, they said these are going to be the hot spots, the elevated spots, and the normal spots. And so somehow they had the vision to be able to tell where the hurricanes are potentially going to happen in 2018. And this sucker had at this point, now this was probably a week ago, had 20,000 shares
Oh my God.
from good old Lone Star Hurricane Center.
Oh.
20,000 people had shared their 2018 seasonal outlook for hurricanes. Good God.
Maybe we need to serve steak or something.
Jeez, yeah. God, we got to do something.
Oh.
20,000 shares. That's all right. And then that's my first weather fool. Good old Lone Star Hurricane Center. We're going to put their name on the Hall of Weather Fools. And now here's the second one. We've had good old Jeff Petrowski's been on our show last December. Well-known storm chaser. And I'm going to kind of throw him under the bus a little bit. He had a video on Twitter from March 18th. So that was just this past Sunday. He was in Abbott, Texas, and he was under an overpass on I-35. So I-35 was going ahead. He was underneath this. It was like an exit, and cars were lined up under the overpass. You could not get through. Every single lane was blocked, because it was 1-inch hail falling from the sky.
God, okay.
And so everybody and their brother and sister bailed under the overpass. And so Jeff was just walking around because people were out of their cars, and he's just walking around, videotaping all the cars under the overpass. And so I'm going to assume he was under there as well. Now, he might have been parked off to the side or in the median and not actually in one of the working lanes that you're supposed to drive in. So I'm not going to entirely put him under the bus, but he was included. Somehow he was part of the group. So all those people, this is my pet peeve. I understand if it's hailing, you want to get the hell out of that, but park off to the side, leave the damn lanes open. So when it fills up, someone needs to get out of there. They can keep driving the crap through to find something else to get under. If everybody parks and there's no lanes to go through anymore, all it's going to do is back everybody up. And now everybody else is outside of the underpass or the overpass. Mm-hmm. And they got nowhere to go. They can't get out of that crap.
Phil.
And I don't understand what
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Did you have a bad experience?
That's right.
I did not. Wow. But weather fools that park under the overpass in the driving lanes, get the hell out of the way. That's all I have to say.
Well, hopefully it wasn't a tornado warned storm, You're not supposed to be there.
Yeah, that's not where you go, right?
There's circulation in the area if there's hail coming down. But
there's an awesome video.
All right, so that was mine.
That happened once? Oh, man.
Crazy.
Okay, well, that's it. One. Unless you got a third?
No, I thought two was enough.
All right. So that's it for Weather Fools as well. Again, you can check out everything on stormfrontfreaks.com, episode 49 show notes, and you can check out all the links and the videos as well, right?
Yes. Yep. Those that have video, we'll make sure those links are on there.
Very
all
cool.
right, MJ, what do we got for listener comments and questions this week?
Hey, we got a few this week for episode 49. At Adelwin on Twitter says, finally getting a chance to listen to this one. Looking forward to it. Thanks for listening, Beth Allen. Appreciate that. At Ashbray WX says, if you ever need to interview any college weather nerds, I will happily volunteer. We'll keep you in mind, Ash.
We're not sending beer to them.
We're not. And our friend Ari at Ari Weather says, thanks, guys. Still listening to you as well.
Oh,
thanks
for
sticking with us. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll say this. I know Weather Channel, the digital side, they're starting a podcast as well. Min and Castle, you guys know that?
Yeah, they are. We saw that on Twitter.
Yeah, we saw it on Twitter.
So Ari must be hosting that. I think they're actually recording it tonight. And it was John Erdman was going to be his first guest on tonight as well. So both of those guys we've had on the show. But the Weather Channel getting into the podcasting mix now as well. So
awesome.
Glad we could bring up the idea for him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No kidding. That might explain some things.
10% royalty, 10%.
Anyway, well, that just about does it for this episode of Stormfront Freaks podcast. Thanks for listening and watching. Before I tell you about our next guest, if you enjoy our show, please do us a favor, leave us a great review on your podcast app. And don't forget to subscribe to the show by hitting your podcast app subscribe button. It works just like a magazine or newspaper subscription. All it does is it assures that the latest show gets delivered right to your inbox to listen the moment that it's released. Special thanks to our guests tonight, Minh and Castle. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We had a great time.
Yeah, thanks
for having us.
Hey.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot
Thank
of
you.
fun.
Yeah,
Great.
so
You guys are
check
awesome.
check out their podcast, Weather Hype. It's a great podcast that I listen to as well. Our next episode in 2 weeks will be recording on April 5th with senior scientist at the NOAA National Severe Storms Laboratory. Harold Brooks is going to be
awesome.
Very cool.
Oh,
Great.
Harold.
So,
Nice.
looking forward to that. If you'd like to watch the recording live at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, just check out our YouTube channel by searching Stormfront Freaks.
Hey, can we ask him if there's going to be hurricanes in an elevated area along the coast?
Sure. You
Okay.
put that down as your question. I
All right,
promise I won't steal it from you. How's that sound? Good. All right. So for MJ and Maz and Kim and Minh and for Castle, I'm going to go ahead and signal the all clear. We'll catch you guys next time.
All right. Goodbye.
See
Good
ya.
night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, guys. Bye.
See
All
ya.
right.
you
Minh and
guys.
Castle, thanks, guys. I
Thanks
appreciate
again.
it.
Well
That
done.
was good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
great.
It was a lot
Thanks
of
for
fun.
having
Really having. Yeah. Thank
I'll
you.
I'll send you guys. So we typically upload the audio podcast. It shows up on Sunday, usually once we've edited it and everything. So I'll send you guys some links and all that as well. But yeah, appreciate having you on. It was a lot of fun.
Perfect. Yeah.
Guys are great.
Thanks,
That
guys.
was great. Yep.
All right, see you, gentlemen.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya. All right, guys.
All right, Kim, what
I
the hell's
gotta
going
go.
on at your house tonight?
Oh my
Holy
God.
cow.
Well, I've been up since 5 o'clock, right? And so then,
Whoa.
yeah, I had to work the last 2 days. So I've been up at 5.
I
then-
hate that.
Holy cow.
Marty decides, hey, let's all get new phones. So, because our
Oh, that's why
it
you
was
went to-
time to upgrade. So I had to go up to Sprint, and it just, one of these things where
Oh, God, pull
it
teeth.
took forever
I hate
to back up my phone, and it was just a nightmare. But anyway, so they're all up there. I guess they're backing up their. I don't know what they're doing, but anyway, doing something.
Sucking bandwidth.
Yeah,
Yes.
everybody's
Yeah.
backing up their phone. I bet that's what it was.
I think that's what it is. I
Yeah,
don't know.
everyone's using the bandwidth. Okay,
Oh, okay.
cool.
All right, guys. Well, I'm
You were
going to
awesome
bed.
tonight, Kim.
Oh,
Yeah.
you all were too.
Thanks,
All right.
Kim. See ya.
Good night to
guys
all our
both.
viewers. Thanks
Yeah,
for
good
watching.
night,
Oh, yep.
everybody.
See you guys. Thanks for watching.